And I'm also thinking now, because we had a little talk before I hit the record button. We were talking about what you could see outside. You feeding the birds, which is brilliant to hear over there in Switzerland.
You're dead
and,
right.
Yeah, what does it look? What birds are you seeing at the moment?
Well, we're lucky because we live up here in the Jura, which is it's 1,100 meters, so it's a bit like a very big lake district, really, above Geneva. Very beautiful, and if I look out the window, I can look, and there's the lake, and there's Mont Blanc over there, and the whole Alps. But right within us, we're on the edge of this lovely forest, so we get lots of birds, and to enjoy them, and to have them close by, we've got a couple of bird feeders. We just couldn't resist it, so we've got a couple of those things that have the balls in, and one of these very lovely Japanese things that came as a gift that you put the seed in. And it's just great. It means you get the woodpecker around, and the blue jays, robins, and yellow tits, and all kinds of amazing birds. And a good friend of ours, Andy Schofield from the RSPB, gave us the Collins Book of Birds. So it gives us our chance to sort of understand what birds we have around us. And it's a lovely interaction we have here with these bird seed. Yeah, so we nip out every once in a while and buy these huge bags of bird seed and these boxes of balls and get them out there. We quite like the blue jays on the balls because they're big enough and muscly enough that they don't peck at the balls. They come in and wreck everything and fly away with the whole ball,
Would you argue that feeding the birds, for example, it's kind of a good entry point for people? Some people we during lockdown, we recruited or we invited people to come and write for us on our blogs. And Margaret Emerson recently, you may have heard, we recorded a lovely podcast. She became one of our armchair naturalists. So she an ex-BBC meteorologist as well. So she was brilliant at it because we talked about the weather as well. But back to thinking about introducing people to nature and wildlife, would you argue it's a good way, to get people, get children involved in understanding, watching, observing nature, feeding the birds?
Most definitely. I mean, it really is. Well, firstly, I mean, it's in our human nature to be interested in wildlife. Everybody likes seeing, birds and foxes and pets, dogs and cats. People love animals in general. It's a natural reaction, and birds, they have a thing in the UK, don't we? We have a thing about birds. I mean, I think the RSPB Citizen Science annual event is the largest in Britain by a long shot, because we all like to know what's happening with the birds. Why are there more of these ones this year? Why have those ones left a bit early this year? Are they going to come early? All the different numbers of arrivals and comings and goings of the different species, plus the understanding of how they interact with each other, is a great entry point. It's a great sort of like common denominator to nature. So it's not just looking at birds thinking, wow, there's a beautiful woodpecker, and isn't it amazing how he looks around either side of the tree looking to see what's coming? Isn't it a great thing to see? And all the rest of it. It's not just the individual birds, it's understanding that they arrive and depart in our gardens and parks at different times of the year because of global events.
Yes.
Such as changes in the climate, such as the arrival of the monsoons in certain parts of the world, plus as changes in the jet stream. So it immediately is a lovely conduit to understanding big global issues through these, half a dozen small birds that may arrive on your garden fence quite regularly. So it's a very healthy way of engaging with nature. It's great. It's always fun to feed the birds, and I don't know about you, Simon, but I get a bit guilty when the bird feeder's empty.
Well, we definitely do, really. Absolutely, and I can be guilty of it too. For me, I guess for you, it's like turning up without your face mask. For me, it's getting up in the morning and seeing, oh, the bird feeder's empty. This is what we do for a living. But that said, we change our approach. Recently, our veterinary advisor with avian flu and so on. So let's keep feeding the birds, but let's do it responsibly. So, for example, we're encouraging our customers to only put out enough food for a day or a couple of days, so rather than, and that makes sense, and food is not cheap anywhere, and so why put out good quality food that we work so hard to, keep clean, and to put it out so that it can attract bacteria and viruses and so on, at a feeding station. We want to be doing good things. But I love this engaging with, you're talking about engaging, because you can, and it's the contrast here from one moment, and I'd love to go back to Rotherham and talk about the wildlife if we can, but what's clear to me, and I'm so pleased we've recorded this visually as well as audibly, which is the audio, which is because you seem to get as much from the wildlife that you may see in Antarctica as you do in your garden space as well. You just love nature. You can see that. Yeah,
absolutely I do, Simon. I mean, Rotherham, you could walk to the end of the wharf at the end of the runway on the southern side of the base and see orca, killer whales, chasing seals and doing the thing you've seen on David Attenborough where, seals on a small ice floe.
Incredible.
And the orca work together to create waves and do the spy popping first, have a good look around, and then gracefully sort of wash the seal off.
Have you seen that firsthand? You've actually witnessed that?
Countless times. And amazing things.
Incredible.
But on the other hand, you can't beat, waking up in the morning, having a cup of tea, looking out the front here, and seeing, like this morning, we've inevitably got a friendly fox that comes around here. Underneath our bedroom in the winter, we have a family of foxes that live under the bedroom with a badger. So that's great that they live under the bedroom in the ground down there. And we get deer in the garden and everything. And it's, for me to see that literally, 10, 15 feet away is a wonderful thing. It's just absolutely wonderful. And I think we might underestimate that in people, that we want to encourage people to enjoy their local wildlife, particularly young ones, whatever it takes. It's the perfect conduit to understanding very important global issues, and it's just a beautiful thing to do.